Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us again on Tribe Thursday. Yes, I said it right this time. I'm so excited for this day. We have been having some amazing guests on the show. Yes, this is still considered to be a show, and I'm so excited because UCAN of Memphis has been really doing it. We've been having some great speakers that have been giving some a lot of words of wisdom, some information that are good for our students and parents. But guess what? We have another wonderful guest today. So if you don't know, my name is Leshundra Robinson. I am the executive director of the wonderful organization called UCAN of Memphis. And I'm so excited to be here and to continue to do this on our Thrive Thursday with our special guest, Miss Andrea Hill. Yes, she is from Leadership Memphis, and we are going to be talking about volunteering. Yes, I did say the word that a lot of people are just so afraid of because they're thinking, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm going to get paid? Will I not have any money? And especially during this time, we are unsure what we should be doing. So, of course, we know the standard. We have our couple of questions for her, but we want to be able to have her introduce herself. That way you can know a little bit more about her. So, Miss Andrea, let's hear it for you.
Yeah. So I am really excited to be on this call, this show today. It is important to me that volunteering overall is important. And there are multiple ways to do it where you can be safe and also still give back to your community. So you asked a little bit about me. So I'll give you maybe 3 points. I am a twin. So if you see me in the streets and I don't speak, well, actually, I don't see anybody right now, so it'd be like me seeing you for the first time. But I do have a twin sister who's out there who looks exactly like me. I have been working in this volunteerism space for about almost 20 years. I know I don't look it, but I have. And I actually went to Hillcrest High School, and I think you did as well, right?
Yes.
So we're both alumni.
Yes. Our Mighty Vikings.
So those are my 3 I guess claim to fames and points about me. But really, all in all, my life has been dedicated to service, to really all mankind in any way that shape, form, or fashion that takes place. And it's always been my goal to really share with people how you can do it and do it effectively.
You know what? You said a mouthful right there because I love what you said. So let me say this about her twin because this was a funny moment. When she says her twin look exactly like her, they look exactly alike. And we were at some event when we were able to go out. And I spoke to her. I was like, hey, girl. She was like, hey. And I was like, that's not her. She doesn't normally act like that. And I thought about it. I said, oh, that must be her twin. And so she said, are you looking for Andrea? I was like, yeah. She was like, I'm the twin. I was like, oh my God. I felt really, really bad. But it gave me a lesson. So every time I see them, I always try to figure out, okay, which one is it? Yeah. But they're both sweet. They both do some wonderful things in the community. So if you run into one, you run into the other, just say hi anyway. And they would definitely speak. So I do love that about that.
Well, thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions. And I just want to say that I am also an alumni of Leadership Memphis. So
yay!
On my shirt.
Woohoo! Awesome!
The best class ever that every class says. So yeah,
all of our alumni are awesome.
So I love Leadership Memphis and the work that they do. And of course, with volunteering, that's something that the organization that we have, we make sure that our students are aware of how to volunteer. What do they need to do? Which goes directly into our questions. So question number 1, why is volunteering important and what is the benefit?
So overall, volunteering is really considered anything that you do there where there is no charge for it. The ultimate thing is where people say is altruism, where you're giving to the community and providing a benefit from either your skills or your talents. And you don't, again, receive anything in return. But I really say that volunteering can't be a free service because you always receive something back from it. And so what that is some of the benefits. As a volunteer of a person who's new to a city, They get to build a new fellowship, a network of people that they wouldn't have normally come in contact with. Volunteer also gives you an opportunity to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Whether you have a passion for helping senior citizens, or you have a passion for helping the homeless population or the refugee population, you are giving of yourself in that regard. Whether this is just your passion, you love working with that particular population of people or communities, or you actually have a skill set in accounting or business management or building homes. So it really is an opportunity for people to, one, give and support the community in a bigger and greater way, but it's also is a benefit for you as a volunteer to really feel like you're making a difference, whether it's small or large or medium, to give back to your local community and greater community as well.
Exactly, because making a difference is one of our taglines here, and we want to make sure that we are truly making a difference. And one of the ways that you can do it is through volunteering. And I know when we first started the organization, of course, I'm the founder and now the executive director, but when we first started, I wasn't an executive director. I was just a founder, and we've been doing this for now 14 years. And just recently, probably this is my 3rd year as an executive director. So I was volunteering my time, my efforts, my passion, my love for it, and I wouldn't go back and change anything, because that's something that I definitely love. Which goes into our second question: how does the community benefit from volunteering?
So right now we're going through this major thing, that's the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. And what I've seen in the time frame from maybe late or mid-February through now, as the city is beginning to kind of slowly reopen, is that the grit and grind of the Mid-South community has not changed. People still care to give of their time, their treasure, and their talent to supporting others in the Mid-South. And it's been awesome to see. Whether you are young or more mature in age, or retired, or still working, or wanting to become a part of the workforce, there is some way for you to contribute to the community. And so some of the examples of things that I've seen is we have volunteers who are helping to make face masks from old t-shirts that they had left over in their offices for folks at MIFA or at Baptist Hospital.
No,
We have
stop right there. So
yeah.
You're telling me that there are people who are volunteering to make face masks that people are trying their best to get hands on, but there are people who are volunteering to make them, not to sell them, but to provide them for a need.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So when even as to your point, and I thank you for really pointing that out, is the issue, the thought of it is that there is no thing too small. There is no need too great that our community can't come together to help serve. And so something as simple as face masks that people are paying, a lot of money for, or searching all over Amazon and the internet to try to find, there are simple things that are at home that you can use to make a face mask. Or there are companies like different distilleries that are deciding not to make alcohol for portions of their production to actually make hand sanitizer. So there are ways for us, and everybody has to really, I don't know if you have to dig deep or just really think a little bit longer in time frame to figure out what it is that I can do to give back to my community. And I tell people this all the time. So that's one example of the hand sanitizer or the face mask. But even if you go into an organization and say, hey, I have some great administrative skills. I can help type. I can help you with your mailings. And it's simple as putting envelopes together with the thank you cards in them. It's something that a nonprofit can utilize. And based on the independent sector's value of volunteer hours, the equivalent to just your free labor can be broken down to just general service. And I think it's about $23 or $24. And the price goes up as years go on and progress. But that value estimated by the time of your hours given to a certain organization, that reflects at some point, sometimes a FTE, which is a full-time equivalent or employee. So your time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, whether you think it's small or big, really in the grand scheme of things adds to the productivity in our community and at these different nonprofits or service organizations that need support and need help with capacity.
Man, you said it all right there, because I was supposed to be looking at the other question, but I was so busy listening to you that yes, I've seen so many organizations recently that have made the effort of taking away from themselves in order to help the community, and that's just by volunteering or just giving away for free, and that means a lot, which goes right into our third question. With COVID-19, many organizations still have a duty to uphold. What is the value or cost of someone volunteering for that organization? And you said it already, about $25, something like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So I think, and just even in the cost of it, and this is one of the disclaimers, because as the president of our local kind of volunteer managers organization, which is DOVIA, Directors of Volunteers and Agencies, we have these conversations all the time, and specifically at this particular point in time, where there are kind of far and few between opportunities that are in person, just because of the risk and trying to manage that risk. There are virtual opportunities, and at this point there are costs associated with maybe transitioning things to a virtual standpoint or making things more accessible as an in-person volunteer. But that cost will come into play where you do need the face mask, you need the security around the event, or you need the PPE, other PPE equipment. So there is cost, and where organizations are able to thrive is through our volunteer service. And where they don't necessarily have to maybe hire 10 additional staff people, they have maybe 5 or 6 really dedicated volunteers that can help to support the organization and the things that they're doing. That helps with costs as well. But it is a balancing game, where whether you have to provide the appropriate structure around those volunteer opportunities, but then also how can you mitigate some of that issue as far as where you don't have the biggest budget? Can you utilize volunteers as not as staff, but to really support the staff that you have?
So do you have a story or testimony that maybe one of the organizations or companies have given you, and they said that, you know what, this has been a moment of distress at first, but now we're seeing the brighter line of it? Do you have any stories like that?
Not anything in like a specific story, but I'll just say in a global kind of aggregate of just hearing from different organizations talk about how they're being able to support. The Mid-South Food Bank is a great example of really going through this time and still forging ahead and creating some in-person safe volunteer opportunities. Our communities that are most vulnerable at this time are those who have healthcare issues, who have food insecurity, and those who are at some point, with this being Mental Health Month, having some issues around being lonely or not having a opportunity to network to come and to really engage with them. And so where the food bank is one of those kind of shining examples is that they have been working through the whole pandemic to make sure that they're feeding our most vulnerable who need food, whether that's youth, families, or seniors. And they've been able to kind of really organize through our efforts with the city of Memphis and with Innovate Memphis to mobilize volunteers through that process. But even to their own credit, on their own, is being able to recruit volunteers and maintain those volunteers that they have. So they're serving thousands and thousands of meals throughout this every week that are either shelf staple meals, where meals that don't have to be cooked and they have the canned goods and things that are non-perishable. But just really helping to provide those meals to families is one of the greatest, as a greatest need in our community. They're being able to fulfill that. But it's not just the Mid-South Food Bank alone. This Neighborhood Christian Center that's doing that with their executive director, Effie Johnson.
Yes.
There's also the Red Cross, who has, to their great national, international kind of acclaim, they have virtual, remote opportunities for volunteers, but they also have in-person opportunities. And I think those organizations who have that structure are really being able to mobilize and pivot during this time. But in addition to that, I would just ask that, like, anyone who wants to go out and volunteer, that they do have a little patience with those volunteer managers, because during this time it is a little stressful for them as well, because they would love to be with their families. They would love to have things kind of at a normal pace where they've been used to, or they've had the skill to manage those things. And so during this time, they may not have virtual opportunities, they may not have in-person opportunities, but they will eventually as we reopen back to not business as normal, business as new normal. So just operating with that in mind. And I think being patient, also being able to give of your time and be flexible with that time is really important right now. So that doesn't necessarily answer your initial question, but it is a kind of a transition to it. Yeah.
Exactly. Because when you talked about virtual, because that's not something that I actually asked, but that's perfect, because when we're talking about virtual volunteering, a lot of people don't know what that looks like. And so they're asking, well, how can I virtually volunteer for anything? Because now you have to be careful with security issues too. So
Absolutely.
if someone says that, well, you can use our computer, or I'm going to give you our password, which I don't know why they would. So, there are some things that when you're talking about administrative, I'm thinking like you said, sending out maybe on an electronic thank you note versus a written one, or something like that. But how can they virtually volunteer?
There are some opportunities, and like I said, with the Red Cross, they actually have some fiscal review volunteers. They have volunteers that are helping to screen volunteers and different clients that are coming in. And so through their process, to their credit, they have this opportunity to streamline their process, where there is a background check, there's an application process, there's orientation and the training. And once you've gone through all of those kind of preliminary steps, then you're able to volunteer. So they've made sure that they've cleared you, where at any given point in time, whether it's during this pandemic or not during the pandemic, volunteers are going to be screened. And that is to
ask that. I was just about to say
they're going to be screened. So, but during this process specifically, they're being screened for a couple of different things, because those projects are virtual, and you don't have the supervision in your home with you while you're helping to do these projects. So they're far and few between, and it's still based on technology concerns. They're based on security concerns, and any number of other areas and things. But there are opportunities out there. You just have to search. And where, I'll give my own shameless plug. If you're looking for those volunteer opportunities, you can definitely go to our website at volunteermemphis.org. And even if you have questions, where you get to the website, you see a project that's on there and that you want to volunteer for, then you still have the opportunity to call, email me, to really go through and say, hey, is this the right project for me? What do I need to have? I need to contact that person, but I don't have any means of doing it through technology, but can I give them a phone call? I can connect you with those organizations. So Volunteer Memphis is here to be the organization that is essentially a volunteer center, where all the volunteers can come in, find opportunities, and then go back out and serve their greater community. And we're hoping that we serve that purpose and ultimately increase volunteerism across the Mid-South, because we do operate virtually or essentially within 10 counties around the Mid-South. And that includes Crittenden County, Arkansas, 3 northern Mississippi counties, and most of the counties in West Tennessee, all the way towards Brownsville, Tennessee. So if there's someone who wants to volunteer, we can definitely try to connect you with one or more nonprofits in any of those areas.
Wow, I didn't know that it expanded that far out. So that's good. So what type of skills would teens need, or should they need, or do they even need any particular skills in order to volunteer?
It will vary based on project. There are some things that are like just say we were in our normal world and we were able to go out and do different things. The community cleanups, all you have to have is maybe a rake or a trash bag and some gloves. So there's no particular skill that you need for those things. Helping with a mailing, putting envelopes in letters in an envelope, maybe attention to detail. being able to be flexible, a willingness to learn, because many times these volunteer opportunities are places of, they could also be considered internships or externships or opportunities for you to engage in an arena that you, again, have never operated in before. So you'll learn leadership skills. You'll learn to the ability to work with other folks, like on teams, which I learned that in college. Well, I learned that in high school because I played pretty much every sport I could to learn and to get a scholarship. So even if I wasn't the best, I was on the team. But just being able to interact on a team in a teamwork kind of structure. And then also the opportunity to learn how to engage and interact with different populations of people. As I grew up, I was in Bridge Builders, I was in Upper Bound, I was on the Knowledge Bowl team. I mean, that gave me a farther reach to interact with people beyond just the four people maybe in my household, my parents and my sister. So do I know someone of a different race or a different religion? I do. And that's because I've had the opportunity to interact and engage and volunteer through those times and learn about different people. So it's more than just volunteering. It's not just the ABCs of that particular task or project. It is all those, and people say soft skills or kind of peripheral things that you gain from volunteering. Maybe you learn how to budget. Maybe you learn how to navigate different hard issues and problems. And when you learn how to do that, you add that to your college scholarship application. Mm-hmm. I learned how to manage this situation, and these are the steps that I took. So you can learn a lot from volunteering. So I think just going in with the willingness to learn, going in with the willingness to say, hey, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to engage and learn the best way I can, and ask lots of questions, and just be willing to be hands-on and take on tasks, because those that do that are the ones that get the opportunities. They move from level to level, and then eventually become the president of the United States. So, there are things that you have to do, and volunteering should be included in that have-to list.
And I so agree with you on that. And we talk to our students about volunteering. One of the things we also mentioned is that they have to be careful with their social media. Do you agree with that?
I do. I was looking on social media, I think it was last night or this week. And, every once in a while, I tell people to Google yourself. Mm-hmm. If you Google yourself, you'll find a million different people with your same name. And one of the things when I was earlier in my career, I said I Googled myself and I didn't see myself in the list. I saw all these different people, Dr. Hill, this person, that person, that person. And I said, well, for one point, I don't really like that I don't come up in the list. Because I want to come up in the list as this is the go-to person for this. Oh, she was in this article, or she was asked to do this, or she received this. So that's one piece of it. So you want to come up positively first in the Google search. But then that gave me some motivation, to say the least, to actually do things that were impactful, to do things that people were proud of, and to actually become a resource for my community. And so now that I Google myself, when I do see things pop up, I think about, now that social media is a little bit bigger and more prevalent, that if you Google yourself and you find one of your Facebook posts, or somebody mentioned you in a Facebook post, is that something that you would want to be seen? Mm-hmm. And so I want, if they Google a Facebook post, to say, hey, Andrea is in this article or interview posted by UCAN, and she's talking about volunteerism. That's positive. Mm-hmm. What I wouldn't want to see is Andrea posted on Facebook and it says she was in an article or in a news article with any number of things that was negative. Because I work to try to, one, have a good image, to make myself proud, to make those that I come in contact with proud, those that I work with, my family, everybody proud. And I can't do that with the negative publicity.
My thing came up something. I'm sorry. My screen came up, was like,
like, what happened?
Yeah, like, you need to upgrade. I'm like, hold up. I got you
right now.
It took me down directly to the screen. So I do apologize, but I was definitely listening to you. And I definitely wanted to stress that with our teens, because of course, I talk about that when we're in the classroom. I talk about that in videos. I talk about that in my bullying presentations. All of that is so important. And one thing I tell them, that when you're looking at volunteering, they're going to Google you. When you're looking at getting employment, they're going to Google you. When you are in the classroom, they're going to Google you. When they get their list of students, they are going to Google you. So like you said, you want to make sure that you have something that's positive. All right, so we're going to go into the last question, because
sure. I could talk all day.
Yeah, me too. Because this thing is cutting up on me right now. So we're going to say, where can people find information on how to volunteer in their community? And you kind of talked about that a little bit, but in that question, I also want you to add on, like, what is the process? Because I know you said it earlier when you looked at the background check, but what does it look like? So where can they volunteer? Where can they find information on how to volunteer? And then how does that look? What will actually happen once they tell somebody, hey, I want to volunteer? What are my next steps?
Sure. So within our website at volunteermemphis.org, we have a database of about 300 or so organizations that are nonprofits, again, across that 10-county area. And so those volunteer organizations have definitely their own process, but there is a pretty much a standard of operating for your onboarding, if you will, for volunteers. And it is first registered with that project. Once you register with that project, then your next step is to go through the screening process as the organization has set forth. And that would include an application, which is basically just your general demographic information, name, age, skill set, things you desire to do, or passions. And then the next step is for you then to go in to either a background check, and it depends on the level of project that you're doing, whether they may ask you for a motor vehicle background. They may ask you for a health screen. Some ask for a tuberculosis test. Some ask for a number of other tests. And that's, again, depending on the vulnerable population that you are serving with. The next thing that they may ask you is for you to attend an orientation or a training. That can be done multiple ways. It could be online, where you just view a video and check a box that says you viewed it. Or it may be an in-person one that you have to go to one or more times. And once you've kind of gone through that streamlined process, the next phase is for you to either potentially be interviewed, depending again on the project, and then to meet with that supervisor at the organization and begin volunteering. So it's a number of different steps depending on the risk level for your interaction with the actual population that you're serving. So again, it's easy, go in and volunteer that day if you're doing a community cleanup. But if you're going in and working in a group home, or you're going in and working in a hospital, there is additional steps that you have to take. If you're working with seniors in a nursing home, or youth and young adults in a school setting, there are additional background check or processes that are put into place. But as you do that, the volunteer coordinator or manager or administrator at that particular nonprofit or service organization will contact you with those steps. And so, again, we don't want to I don't want to diminish the process of screening, because it's important. As I tell everybody, and I've been telling them for many years, it may be daunting of an orientation, this background check and all of that, but think about it in the regards that if you were the person that these volunteers were coming into contact with, and you would want to be safe. So we are safeguarding not just the volunteer and making sure that they don't come into an unhealthy situation. We want to make sure that the clients that are being served with that particular service organization are not being exposed to anyone that has a particular background that's not advantageous to the success of the organization and that particular population. So as far as processes are concerned, that's the big and the large, big and the small of it. But again, it's based on the organization and the service opportunity that you're looking and desiring to do.
Okay. And then I think we answered that one. Where can people find information on how to volunteer? Yeah.
Yes. So for right now, everyone can go to our volunteermemphis.org website and click on the tab that says volunteer. But in addition to right now, what we're doing is working with the city of Memphis and Innovate Memphis. And we're asking for now volunteers that are 18 and over that have very specific skills or trades. So if you're graduating from high school with a trade certificate or going into a trade in college at Southwest Community, not, what is it? I was going to say Southwest Community College when I was going to school.
No, it was State Tech. It was State Tech then.
State Tech. Oh, see, I'm a little younger than that. I'm joking. I'm sorry. But as you go through tech school, just thinking about the things that you're going in for, we are looking for some of those skill volunteers, whether it's plumbing, carpeting, those types of things. So you can go to the City of Memphis's website and click on the resource tab for COVID-19 resources. And you can also find additional volunteer opportunities there, which will link you back to our page. But I always try to send people to the City of Memphis page because it does provide a large, lot of information on COVID-19 updates, resources, as well as volunteer opportunities that are needed.
I'm gonna make sure that I include that into the information in regards to this video, as well as so people can go and click on the link and they can start volunteering on some things.
Absolutely.
Well, it looks like our time is almost up because this thing is saying, look, it's flashing at me. I've never had it flash, so we've been having a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, excuse me. I need some coffee like Oprah be having on the sideline.
Oh yeah, Gail and Oprah.
Yeah,
we can take your show on the road.
Hey, we're gonna speak that into existence. I'm like this now.
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming along today on our Tribe Thursday and talking about volunteerism. It's very important now for our community. If it hasn't been important, it's so important right now, and it's still going to be important when all of this is over, because I believe that it's going to bring our people together. Like you said, 901, it is what it is, and we're going to be stronger all together. I like the hashtag all together. Now, do you have any last words that you would like to tell the people on what they need to do or how to get in contact with you, or some positive words?
Well, and I just want to tell people, give them the opportunity to know that we do have some national days of service that are coming up. Our 9/11 day of service is on that same day, 9/11. We'll be looking for volunteers, and so definitely go to our website to hear and see information about that. We do have Make a Difference Day coming up in October on the 23rd and 24th, and that will be our financial literacy takeover. So we're going to be picking a school and sending in bank volunteers to go in to support the students there with the Junior Achievement and also with United Way. And then our last volunteer National Day of Service will be Family Volunteer Day in November on the 13th, where we'll be educating and supporting those volunteers and people who are caretakers or caregivers to youth, to seniors, to veterans in our community. And so look on our website for more details about those 3 National Days of Service. But most importantly, we do have our Volunteer Memphis Awards coming up on June 25th. So it's going to be virtual. So stay at home, but come out to party.
I like that. So we have June, September, October, and November.
Yes.
Okay. So, and leadershipmemphis.org is where they can get
volunteer. Volunteer Memphis.
Volunteer Memphis. Volunteermemphis.org.
Yes.
Where they can go and volunteer. All right. So you heard it from the queen herself, the expert herself, the one that has it going on herself. And she is giving you information. So I hope our youth are actually watching. I hope our parents are watching as well, so they can let their child know that you need to get out this house, or you need to have some type of skill sets so you can volunteer. And this is the opportunity, especially during the summertime, to volunteer. Please, please, by all means, use the skills that you have to give back to our community. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys again on